In today's video, I'm going to talk about a tick-borne illness called anaplasmosis. I'm going to talk about this because it's becoming increasingly diagnosed, especially in places where we didn't necessarily think it was, for example, Western Pennsylvania. So this is a bacterial infection that is spread by ticks through tick bites, and it is spread by the same tick that spreads Lyme disease. And it is more severe in certain ways than Lyme disease. So a week or so after you get bitten by a tick, you get fevers, chills, muscle aches and pains. You don't usually get a rash, but often these fevers are kind of hard to control, that they are concerning, bring people to the hospital. And those are the kind of cases that I've been involved in, where someone has a fever, you can't figure out what's going on with them. Maybe their counts are a little bit off. For example, the white blood cell count may be low, the platelets might be low, which is different than other infections where platelets can be high and white blood cell counts can be high. The other thing is sometimes the liver tests are abnormal and they're on kind of standard antibiotics and they're not getting better. And that's where people should start to suspect anaplasmosis. And sometimes these fevers can be pretty high, but people usually aren't really sick looking. Just mostly that fever that's unexplained. Obviously, if it goes untreated, they can develop organ failure and sepsis from it. But what ends up happening is we empirically, just kind of as a trial, put them on doxycycline, which is the antibiotic that also works against Lyme disease, and the fever goes away. We send their blood for testing, but that sometimes takes a couple of days to come back, so they get better pretty quickly with the doxycycline, are discharged, and then they get called and say, oh, you had anaplasmosis. So this is something that over the last 5 or 6 years has become more and more common in my practice and in people that I get consulted on, and you get pretty good at sniffing it out in certain scenarios. And it is said now that this area in Western Pennsylvania where I practice is sort of a hot spot for anaplasmosis, but it's another tick-borne illness. It gets a little bit less attention than Lyme disease, and it doesn't have, or at least we haven't seen, these prolonged symptoms or all of the diagnostic nebulousness that we see with Lyme disease, but it's another tick-borne illness that people should think about and just keep in mind. Anaplasmosis, just remember it. If you get an unexplained fever or if you're in the hospital with a fever, that should be something to think about.